Well, I did not think the thing that would make me break my silence on YouTube uploading would be the Joker 2, Folie à deux, but here we are. I'm just gonna do this off the dome, and it's inspired by really nothing, but also kind of how people seem to be missing what is good about the sequel and how it does work and how it's not bad. It's just not what people were expecting, um, especially in regards to the hype around the first one. Like, I don't think any sequel could have lived up to something that was that great, and I think I know why the actors did say yes to the script that they read, or parts of the script that they read. And I've got everything just on this piece of paper that I wrote down like weeks ago. Um, Now, I'm coming at this from the very, very average viewer's point of view. There is no prior research I've done besides a couple other people's reviews. Um, I watched it once. I formed an opinion off of it once, as probably 99% of viewers did. Um, I heard it was a musical the day that I went to watch it from a coworker, and I was like, oh, okay. Didn't surprise me. I expected it would work. I was just wondering how. So something to establish is the Joker character, Arthur Fleck, I'll call him the Joker probably, is mentally maybe 14 to 18 years old. He's maybe closer to 10 to 12 years old. This is established in the first movie. Um, if you were to rewatch both movies, but especially the sequel, and replace your age in his head with a 11-year-old boy, you would start to see why he's so lost in so many situations, and why he's so powerless when it comes to dealing with other people, and the way that he copes with things, and how he just is pathetic. Because he kind of was stunted and never grew out of that mindset. That's why his jokes he thinks are so funny, but are just like very lowbrow. They're stuff that we would say like on the playground in elementary school. That's why he thinks they're funny, and that's why he can't understand what other people don't think they're funny. He doesn't have that development in his own brain, and his mental status is like a bit ambiguous, and I'll get to that too. A running theme of people's dissatisfaction with the sequel is that there wasn't a satisfying ending. This is far from the first movie to do that. Like, I remember, does anyone remember when Titanic came out and it was the biggest movie on Earth? I might be just old. But everyone was so mad she threw away the diamond. No one could understand like why she would waste it like that. People called her an idiot. People were like, oh, everything was great until she threw it into the ocean and wasted it. But the diamond was just a metaphor. The heart of the sea. I feel like I don't have to explain Titanic. In this, people were frustrated because there was a lot of characters that they were invested in more or less as the movie went on. Specifically like the Joker himself, and there wasn't like a conclusion for anybody that made sense. And that was on purpose, because one of the themes in the first and second movie is that everyone is a victim. Everyone. So let's think of the characters that are good. For instance, the Joker's lawyer. She's one of the good characters. I can't believe she wants to help this guy get off. I can't believe she feels pity for him and wants to help him in a capacity that I would not feel at all for somebody who's done something like this. When he clearly actually doesn't feel bad for what he did. Maybe confused at why he did it, but also he just wants attention. So it's like, her angle is truly altruistic. And what does she get rewarded with? Public humiliation, an unwanted kiss on camera, and then his followers don't support her because they think she's holding him back. So the good lawyer gets humiliated. Another person who I think people agree is one of the best scenes is Gary Puddle, the clown with dwarfism from the first film. That, like, you kind of forget about these characters in the sequel because you forget that, like, oh my god, they do have to live with seeing someone, like, killed in front of them. And of course he didn't watch the show. That night he was stuck in the police station making his statement, scared out of his mind Arthur would come back or someone else would show up. And he's been living the rest of his life scared to death, confused, reliving that horror, never quite being able to escape it. Certainly not in a couple years, and probably not in his lifetime. So Gary Puddle is completely blameless, and even Arthur, the Joker himself, says, like, it wasn't supposed to hurt you. Like, you were supposed to be spared and be, like, grateful, thankful, untouched. No, his life is ruined. Same thing with the woman who was his neighbor. Another bystander that her character worked to prove that he was an unreliable narrator. Her life is ruined. She was ran out of the city. So there's no happy endings for anyone. Not even Lady Gaga's character. Did they name her Harleen? I don't remember. Harley. She doesn't get what she wants either. And so it's tough to stick to a true tragedy ending. You don't see those very often in Western media. You definitely see them more in indie films that are especially based off of real people's lives, where there isn't a true resolution because life doesn't work like that. Okay, the other thing is that people complained it was a musical, and that people did not want them to sing, and that the singing was distracting, and it was boring, and it was taking them out of the story. When that's the point. Musics and songs in theater have been around forever. As long as we've been telling stories, we've been singing them at the same time or intermittently throughout a story. I don't have to go back to the Commedia dell'arte or the Greek chorus to get you there. But the songs and music are literally a metaphor for when his mind, or both of their minds, Harley and Joker's, break from reality. Because the song literally takes place in a fictional set. Fictional costumes, fictional dreams and hopes and realities. And the songs they pick are very indicative of that, of being in Fantasyland, of being on top of the world and free when they're ironically not. And it works. It's very similar from the signal we get, the motif of when he smokes and leans backwards from the first scene in the bathroom with the dance happens after he kills people. This signals he's breaking from reality. He's getting into character or into his true character. What is funny is the movie night movie in the prison. The movie is a musical about how theater becomes real life by believing in it. There's like a character, I don't know, there's definitely someone who read into this more than me, who's more familiar with the history of cinema. The characters are discussing very briefly how, like, what do you mean you can go up on stage and, like, just dance around and, like, it works? And he's like, oh, because, like, you have to make them believe it by believing it yourself. And that was very on purpose, and I think that was very good. The choice of having the musical elements as well is a good move for a plot that is literally trapped in jail and court, because there's no other place this character would be, because I'm sure they dreamed up briefly of it being a jailbreak movie, but that's not what this character is about. He's not under his own impetus most of the time. He's just kind of caught in situations and honestly fumbles with all of them. That's a motif of his character. He's not a mastermind. He's not smart. They call him low intelligence because he is. They're not trying to insult him. He actually is like 11, maybe 12 years old in his head. He cannot think something through like a prison break, or even communicating outside of prison. Another good theme that I picked up on was madness versus illness, as in madness does not equal genius. I think that's a previous kind of Joker read, was that he's a genius because he's mad, because he's a genius, because he's mad. Like, it's just the same thing. It has to be. He's so crazy because he's so devious and smart. In this case, his madness is an illness. Is an illness, is a madness, is an illness. Those are the two things that are the same. There's the moment where they meet up for a illicit conjugal visit, and Harley asks, like, have you stopped taking, or you should stop taking your pills, and he goes, I already did, because there's this really romantic kind of vision that, like, oh, your meds are holding you back, like, your true self is not a medicated version. That is false. That is completely false. That is the illness talking, or that is a very bad influence speaking to you. We don't know exactly what he's diagnosed with, because that's part of the character, is that he might have a syndrome of many different things that they just call madness, or his split personality. So that was a nice theme that I liked, was that he wasn't a genius. He was mad because he was ill, not because he was so smart and no one understood him and it drove him crazy. What goes back to there not being a happy ending for anyone is that the character of Arthur cannot be a hero in this story. He cannot be an anti-hero either. I think whoever wrote this realized that they could not write him as the hero because it just would not make sense. I talked about how he would not have the capacity mentally, financially, socially to do that. He also lacks like a certain quality I would call seduction. The original comic Joker is what we'd call like seductive. He's a smooth talker. He's tall. He's eccentric. But this version is frail, skinny, old. The one woman who seems interested in him is proven to be mad and delusional. So he lacks that seduction, I would call, that seductive quality that would make him have a bit more charisma to be a kind of hero, which he's just not. And I think they ran with that really well. Another complaint I saw, which was usually in like the top 5 reasons, was that the tie-ins to the Christopher Nolan Batman universe were not like sanctioned by him in the second one, because he wasn't involved in the sequel, but he was involved with the original, the first one. But I think that the tie-ins at the end are completely valid. I saw people saying, oh, they were shoehorning in at the end of the first movie when the manic panic breaks out after the Joker shoots the talk show host, that there's a scene where 2 people leave an opera and get shot, and that's supposed to be Batman's parents getting killed. And I think Nolan was protective of this being a separate but similar universe from his. And I think that's kind of BS, because Christopher Nolan, doesn't own DC or the character of Batman, Joker, or anyone. Like, they're just characters that can be retold by whoever gets the rights to them. So it's a nice move if you ask Christopher Nolan, hey, you had a really successful Batman trilogy, like, do you have any advice, because we want to play off of that? But they don't have to take that as gospel. And so at the end, one complaint was that they were establishing that a Joker is made, because you kind of off camera see the guy who kills Arthur Fleck cutting his face at the end, which is not a trademark, not a patent, but like definitely a feature that Christopher Nolan's Joker has, the one played by Heath Ledger. It's an obvious reference, but also like the Chelsea grin is known to be something people cut into faces, or the cutting of one side of a face by cartel members or gang members. or just the rampant self-harm of marring your own face, because we don't know if he stopped at that and like then went to his eyes or neck. I didn't think it was a bad move. I think it just shows that like that guy that they set up to be actually driven crazy and mad and focused followed through with it the way that kind of Arthur Fleck never does on much. What was good is what I was expecting to see was that stupid trope of when somebody looks into their reflection, usually a mirror, and the mirror talks back at you. And I was totally expecting a scene where he would look into the mirror at the prison, or if there were no mirrors, he would catch his reflection, maybe overlaid with Harley's or Lee's, and there would be a moment where they sing to their reflections or to each other and they overlap, because that's just such a common, like, I'm talking to my inner self trope, is having you literally talk to your reflection. And they didn't do that once, and I thought that was really good. I think that would have been kind of cheap and easy, and instead he had to interact with other characters to show us how he's tormented or struggling. And there's actually not a single scene where he looks into his reflection, where he sees himself. Well, we already got that moment in the first movie. After he kills someone, when he's in that bathroom, he sees himself. And I don't think we needed that moment again, because it was already established that's really how he wants to see himself, as in control and in power and holding the gun, you know. But there's really no plan after that, is also part of his character. In conclusion, the best version of the Batman and Joker are from the Lego Batman movie. I hold that to be, like, the goal, I think, of all adaptations, is that they are fun, and that they are not super metatextual and analytical of their previous versions. And if they are in a humorous and tactful way. The sequel, as it goes, is not a bad sequel. It just, compared to its first one, its successes and the expectations everyone had in their head, made it flop, you could say. So yeah, thanks for watching, I guess.